what is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So in this particular episode, this will be part 25 of the Beef Ravioli run of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. So with this fair, this is the final episode to this, as to long last it's happened within these pitches. After playing this game since the summer of 2018, it's finally time to get this game under wraps as far as these fairs going to happen. So within the pitch, the Dark King does give a little bit of trouble at the beginning, but it's just kind of fair as far as saying that we do advance past this and get to the ending. So it's within the pitch for the fair behind it. The ending is good within a sense, but it's just kind of the aspect as far as saying it's pretty straightforward. I think I said this in like some earlier episodes in these final dungeon areas as far as these pitches can happen, but it's just kind of missed the concept that this really is just a light Final Fantasy game. I mean, it has probably more depth than like the first couple of Final Fantasies from like the 80s pitches like that, but it's just kind of the ordeal as far as saying it's just a basic kind of jumper package and pitches like that for those ordeals. So very vanilla with the aspects, but it's not a bad game. Like I said, this would get, in terms of the fair of like whether or not the critique of the game, I'd probably say this would be a pretty rave type game within the pitch as far as just the blisteriness of it. But yeah, it's been enjoyable. I mean, the pitch behind it. The only thing I really found myself wanting more out of this game within these pitches, just a little bit more kind of like dialogue from like the characters. I mean, I feel like for the fair behind it, it was good for like the impact of what it did, but it's just kind of fair as far as saying like when you compare things to like Chrono Trigger and then to certain extents like Final Fantasy 6 zones type products within it. It's just kind of fair as far as saying, I mean, the dialogue definitely advanced with some of these later type ones as far as these pitch can have, but it's just kind of the fair as far as saying this is just basically this is very much just like a gateway game within those aspects. Kind of similar, like when you think of like the first few Super Mario games, those being like starting points, at least they were way back in the day, pitches like that. It's kind of the ordeal getting into these types of games as you get towards like the ones like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 6 and those type ones within the pitch. This is just kind of one that's kind of like the opening point for some of those type aspects within the tone. I mean, it's a basic type game, but like I said, I mean, the thing I enjoyed about this game is just the pitch as far as saying within the context of just getting more of this particular style, just the basic kind of get up. I mean, the game, this particular game has a good get up of like how it packages things and just kind of the concept of like just the particular glamour that it has within the aspects as far as doing it. But it's just kind of the tone as far as saying it's just kind of a one shot, and that's kind of the concept. And you know, that's usually one of the bigger weaknesses to a video game when you think of some of these types of ones, just within the pitch of some of these types of games. Like, same thing with Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. That was a real excellent type game back in the day, but for the most part, there just was not a sequel. There's some ones, like, it's probably the same thing with Super Mario World, as I'm starting to wrap up that game. As excellent as that game was, you know, like, Nintendo and the rest of them just did not capitalize on putting out like another one as far as this pitch can happen, just because when you think of like games from back in these days, the 80s, 90s, some of these types of affairs, just kind of the pitch that the sweet spot that Nintendo, some of those type folks had with Super Mario World, they kind of lost it easily. Now, you can say other type ones within the pitch, whether or not you want to talk about Yoshi's Island or some of those types of ones within the aspect, but it's just kind of fair that, you know, Super Mario World is pretty vicious type game. I mean, nowadays, I kind of recognize that game is a lot tougher than what I remember. Kind of within the pitch behind it, I like the game still, but it's just kind of the pitch that it does piss me off a little bit more than I think it did like 30 years ago or 25, 28 years ago, pitches like that. It was just kind of the ordeal as far as saying this game's a little bit more easier. I mean, it has some annoyance factors about it, but it's just more of the tedium behind it more so than anything else. I mean, it's a repetitive game, but it does it within such a sense that it just kind of keeps things to where you should be wanting to play this game into like 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's a pitch. I mean, it's just kind of the fair. I did attempt it. I mean, this has been a game I've been trying to get through for that. I mean, I knew this game was the shit back in 2018, some of the type products. This is kind of the fair as far as saying I consistently wanted to do a wholesome playthrough of it, just within the tangent of how it could have been within like a couple months type fair. I think if I had beaten this game back in 2018, I think the fair behind it, it might have been a little bit more, like, I think that's the only thing about it is you get like several years jumps where some of this is from 2018, some of this is from 2022, some of this is from mid 2025, pitches like that. But yeah, like I said, I've tried numerous times to get this game beaten. This is like the 4th or 5th time within some of these type tangents, just with an aspect of trying to get this game done. Just in the probably, I mean, it's just been sitting, collecting the Super Nintendo machine. The other one that I have has just been collecting dust, some of those type of ordeals. Just kind of aspect as far as saying, I just realized it. I mean, it's finally glad to get this game out and out of the product of it. Just within the fair. Now, I'm kind of within the aspect, I may not fire up and purchase like Arcana and some of those type ones, like the ones I said in the previous episode, like the Lord of the Rings or some of those type ones in the aspect. Like, it just kind of depends on the ordeal behind it. I'm going to focus on Super Mario World, some of those type bits, some of those type products within it, but it's just kind of the pitch. I'm losing track of the point I was trying to say here within some. Yeah, so that's the boss. That's taken care of. The Dark King is beaten, some of those type products, just kind of the aspect. I'm losing track of what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, just more or less you can appreciate the ending. But just to go ahead and say it, it's just the aspect as far as saying, now this is really only like, probably, maybe even like the first or second Final Fantasy game I've beaten. I mean, when you talk about the Mario RPG game, I have completed that game within the pitch, but other than that, there's not been terribly many of these like Final Fantasy type ones in the pitch. They're actually, I don't know, I just always get waterlogged or sidetracked with some of these. I mean, they're great games within a casual type sense, within an aspect, but it's just kind of the fair as far as saying, it's just the consistency. A lot of these are pretty lengthy within the ordeal. Just the concept, just not having the patience to kind of fuck with it is full bound. It's not like they're bad games, just kind of the pitch as far as saying. It's just kind of the fair, but as far as these aspects, so you get the get up. I mean, the character, the zone character, talks to the rest of these folks. You re-up with all of them and see what they're kind of up to, but keep in mind it's just kind of, it's a relative, it's just a prompt kind of aspect, just within the tone as far as you just get the promptness. All these folks kind of, this is like, I mean, this is like the closest thing to being able to go back and play the game, because you're not able to play this game after you beat the game. It's just, it just zones out, and then you have to turn off the machine, like I was saying in a recent community post. You don't really get the aspect to be able to, fuck around and see some of the song. I mean, there's really not much you'd be able to do. I mean, I think the only real extra essence, I mean, it'd be interesting if they could have done that, but I think for like the early 90s, considering this game is over 30 years old, it's just kind of pitch as far as saying it's good for what it is. Just kind of the concept, just a good packaging, just excellent type fare, a good aspect to like a game here, just be able to say some of those type tangents, just kind of the tone. So yeah, there's just games like this. Just kind of the aspect as far as me saying it's just the basic jumper one. I think that's what I was talking about before with me saying like Turtles in Time, some of those type of ones. There's other ones within those aspects that are just kind of one shots. It's the same thing with Super Mario World. You think of some of these types of games, trying to think of some other ones like F-Zero was kind of like that, where you just want another game like that. I don't know. There's just for certain fairs where things would not follow up on some of these type of things or do sequels, and it kind of, you just lost something within those aspects. I mean, I get the concept. I kind of do this as well within certain videos on like some of the vlog channels that I mess with, as far as like not oversaturation and some of their products, but it's kind of the fair as far as saying that I think a lot of the product that it's just kind of some of these machines lost their get up, because probably where there needed to be another, like when you say like a game like this, it would have been a good aspect to have gotten like some sort of, I don't know if it would have been Final Fantasy Mystic Quest 2 or something like that, but just something within that same product, if maybe not a Mystic Quest, but like, some sort of temple quest or something like that, just something that could have been another of these. I don't think it would have stolen the idea too much, was just kind of the fair that they're just, it's just kind of within the aspect of like some missed opportunities that kind of more or less leave you hungry within some type of aspects. But I look after it, it kind of gives some inspo to want to play this particular game again within some of these type of aspects. This is kind of the tone. I mean, there's certain fairs, I will say that the thing about a game that's enjoyable once you complete it is just the factoid that if you want to play it again after beating the particular game and you actually get back towards it or not within the dredge aspect of complaining or hating like the concept, is kind of the fair that that has some real good true shine through in terms of replay value pitches like that. And it's just kind of the ordeal as far as saying this game has that particular appeal. There are some moments, like there are certain video games though, and I think of like the aspect behind them as far as wanting to play through them again, pitches like that. There's just certain areas of the game that I pretty much, unless you're like making money for it, or there's certain aspects behind like the tone of just really thoroughly wanting to do it, it's just not as enjoyable. It's kind of the same thing with movies. I mean, that's the key aspect to like a movie. When you think of a movie like Friday, or when you think of a movie, some movies like Rush Hour, some of these type pitches, or other ones like that, Harold and Kumar, some of these type ones within the aspect, you get these particular tones as far as just the replayability. Now, obviously, It's different strokes for different folks within those aspects as far as which particular folk will think which particular thing is replayable within pitches like that. But yeah, luckily for the fair behind this game, I own this game, pitches like that. Obviously, I own this game within the fairs, but just the pitch as far as saying just the enjoyability factor where I would want to play through this game again in most senses. Now, I don't know the aspect of just completing it to the ending. I think within the tone, there's just there's games nowadays, like when I think of the original Super Mario Brothers or something like that, I mean, obviously I can beat that game, but I play like certain amounts of it, and then that's pretty much all that's necessary. It's just kind of a tone just to touch base with that. It's kind of some good type fairs. Like, I do like the beginning of this game quite a bit when I think of like the sand pyramid stage, and the ice pyramid's pretty good as well. But there are some moments in this game that it's exciting to get to the further moments of this game when you haven't seen it pitches like that, but there are some ones that are just not that pleasant. Like when I think of like the particular where you were in the tree areas, I really didn't like those tree areas that much. There was something that had to do with memory about those. That was a real maze-like confusion. That's just, I mean, I like the persnicketiness about it in certain senses, but it's somewhat haphazard, and like the enjoyableness about it. That kind of, when I played through that in 2022, it kind of gave me gripes about it. That kind of got annoying. And I also really hated the volcano area from what I remember that in 2018. I was trying to replay through that back in late 2021, early 2022, and I know if I would have played through it back in those days, I almost did get pretty close to beating that game again in like 2022. It's just kind of pitch that once the save file got deleted, I was like, I do not feel like doing. And that was just a perfect example, like the fair, just how I felt back in 2021, pitches like that, just not wanting to do that volcano boss, because there's just something, I mean, originally I probably would have completed the second playthrough, and this 2018 one wouldn't have been finished off. It is kind of the fair that when I completed, there's two sides to the volcano area. One is going up the volcano mountain and fighting that boss before you enter the volcano, and then you have like the third crystal boss that you fight once you're in the volcano. But that whole area is just massively annoying. That's really where the apex of the game kind of is within Sunnyside Tangents, and I had the nerve to do it back in 2018, but I just was like, I don't feel like doing all this again. Just kind of the fair, but it is enjoyable within the sense it's a classic game, more or less, within the impact of it. It just depends within the fair. It just is. It's just kind of moreover about the grid as to how much of this you'd want to do full bound. But that's the ending within these pitches. There's nothing left to it. It just sends off, and then you just have to turn off the machine as far as what's supposed to happen. So Zone goes off to the sunset, Zone's type ordeals, goes on to his next ventures, pitches like that. It's kind of the product. It's kind of the aspect behind ending this particular fair. So I look after that's the playthrough of this game. Now I will comprise these into like a beefier type one for the beef ravioli runs. So these type aspects. There's probably at least two, maybe 2.5 of these that are going to happen. But that's your game as far as these pitches can happen. So enjoy these fairs. We'll get to Super Mario World, some of these type tangents. Just pig out on some pizza pitches like that, and hope this has been a capital run. Enjoy the playthrough, folks.